A monumental day in the EFL Championship. Sheffield United hand the initiative to Leeds and Burnley in the biggest way in the total race. They are on the brink of Premier League promotion. In the playoff race, West Brom and Millwall close in. And down at the bottom, Oxford and Stoke. Massive away wins. So close they can nearly touch safety. Utterly incredible day. Let me know, particularly in the comments, if you were at a round 42 EFL Championship game. And look, there is just no division like the Championship, is there? Especially at this time of the season. And this was the 3-game week, giving us rounds 40, 41 and 42. And my God, the big story is Sheffield United have collapsed. Who saw that coming? This time last weekend, and I mean a week is a long time in football, it was Leeds collapsing. Do you remember last Saturday we covered Leeds versus Luton and all changed? And I've got to say a lot of the Leeds fans were kind of in acceptance mode. It was going to be the playoffs for them. But what a swing. And I don't even need to really do the entire next segment. I'm going to. All I need to say is this 3-game week. Leeds, 7 points. Burnley, 7 points. Sheffield United, my God, 0 points. I cannot believe the swing we've had in the title race this week. Is it all over already? We'll do the maths and the permutations, but let's talk about the 3 games that all ended up 2-1 to the home side. Unfortunately, Sheffield United were playing away this weekend. Let's talk about Leeds first, who are top of the table, played 42, 88 points, 4 games to go, 5-point cushion. Are you feeling a little bit more comfortable now, Leeds fans? I bet you are. It's so close. You can touch it, isn't it? And remember that Luton game? I've got to take you back 7 days. Darlow in the big Melier story. It was 1 win in 6. After that, they were out of the top 2. But everything has changed. They've gone to Middlesbrough and got the win. And really, it was one of those end-of-season nervy games against Preston, wasn't it? Where they could have won about 5-6, 7-1, couldn't they, at Leeds? But as Daniel Farke and all other managers have said at this time of the season, it is so hard to win games. It turns into tournament football, doesn't it, for the last 4 or 5, and just becomes very tricky. But Leeds got themselves over the line, and in scenes that aren't overly helpful, I've been there many times on final days of the season when you're in stadiums and other results are coming in. And as much as that Leeds crowd were getting excited knowing what was going on down at home park, another layer of pressure goes on. Maybe the squad of players there in the white shirts under the most pressure of anyone in the EFL Championship. He has stayed calm throughout, Daniel Farke. Maybe a lot of the fan base hasn't, but look, there is he vindicated. 4 to go. And again, we'll talk about permutations, but let's say it right here, right now. It's a 5-point gap. So we know with Sheffield United playing Burnley on Easter Monday, if both Leeds and Burnley, can add on 1 more point to that gap over the next 2 games, it's done, isn't it? Look at the goal difference. That will do it. If it's 2 wins for Leeds and Burnley in the next 2, they both go to 94. Sheffield United, best case scenario, will be on 86. It is all done with 2 games to play. That's the situation. Leeds win the next 2. Hope for a favour from Burnley in the head-to-head. And it is all over with 2 to play. Who'd have thought we would have been saying that 7 days ago? Let's talk about Burnley. We'll do Burnley fairly briefly because we watched Burnley on the watch along, so you can check back literally my reaction to everything Burnley did. And I've got to say, and I mean this in the politest and most loving way, typical Burnley, just lovely and efficient, got the job done. Solid in the first half. I've got to say they looked tired physically, mentally in the second half, but Come on, look at the stress these guys are under now. And they're defending what is now a 29-game undefeated streak. Jaden Anthony's coming up clutch, isn't he, to end the season. 8 goal contributes in his last 11. As of today, Burnley are 161 days undefeated since they lost to Millwall back, I think it's November the 3rd, possibly. Check my dates for me in the comments down there. Could they ride out the season? It would be a 33-game streak to what you would think would presumably win the promotion if they're not going to lose any of the final 4 beings. They are playing Sheffield United on Easter Monday. And I've got to give Burnley all the props, but this week has been so key. I froze the table on the undefeated streak, and you know what? The gap was plus 7 points. So for all of that 29 games undefeated, you can say the difference has been made this week, because the swing, obviously 3 games ago, was 0 points. So look, Burnley have been ultra, mega, super consistent, but everything has changed this week. Let's get on to Sheffield United. What a disaster. I don't want to stick the boot in because they've been brilliant, haven't they, Sheffield United? We've mentioned the 2 points deduction pretty much every single week. We've mentioned their ability to win tight games, and there was plenty of chaos, certainly with takeovers and the August transfer window, and they just seem to be fated to get the job done this season. They'd won the most games out of everybody going into this week. I need to check my table, actually. Maybe, not that that's going to be any consolation, they still have, yes, they do still have the most championship wins this season, Sheffield United, but they are now 5 points back. Just horrific, hasn't it? And to bastardise FDR a week, which will live in infamy for Sheffield United fans. Oxford away, lost 1-0. Millwall at home, lost 1-0. Plymouth away, they're bottom of the table. Lost 2-1. They had the lead in this one. Just Raksaki with the goal. It was a corner, wasn't it? And Hardy got the equaliser. And we saw this in the game we did as a watch-along against Hull, where Sheffield United actually got hammered, didn't they, at Bramall in that one. And Wilder always throws the kitchen sink at it. You can watch me back. I say very clearly there is going to be another goal in this game. I think Sheffield United at that point, I can't remember exactly, they had Campbell, Diaz, Moore, Harmer. Was Raksaki still on? I think they had another winger on, possibly. I'm not. They were all out attack and they left it open. And my God, they conceded and they went under 2-1. And I've got to say, you know, stranger things have happened in the Championship. And look, next game, if we get a swing, a win for Sheffield United and a loss for one of the others, we'll say it's back on. Right now, it looks like it's done, doesn't it? It really looks like it's done. Let's go through these permutations then. So Good Friday, 3 p.m, Watford versus Burnley. If Burnley win that game, they go to 91, and then it is ultra pressure on Sheffield United at that point, because you then know it's an 8-point gap, isn't it? And the next game is, of course, Burnley versus Sheffield United. The Blades have a good fixture, if there is such thing as a good fixture when you're mid-collapse and you've lost 3 in a row, but they play Cardiff at home. Cardiff are in a world of trouble in 22nd, 4 without a win. Then 8 p.m, Oxford versus Leeds. Now, Oxford is not a straightforward opponent, and we know that this type of away game has unsettled Leeds, like at Luton last week, and it very much unsettled Sheffield United last Saturday, didn't it? Because they lost this game. So look, could be a really fascinating Good Friday. Easter Monday, Leeds go first. They play Stoke at home, and the good news for Leeds is that Stoke have had a lovely first 4 of the last 8. They've scored 8 points, and they are looking close to safety. And then at 5:30, it's all on, isn't it? Burnley versus Sheffield United. And the narrative on that game now is that Sheffield United have to win that game. And as I said before, it only has to be 1 point more than it is now. So it could even work with, draws in there. But let's just say Leeds can beat Oxford and Stoke and go into that game already on 94 points. It's in their hands and it's all done pretty much, isn't it? And we know then if Burnley were to go and beat Sheffield United, and that gap is 6 or more points going into the final 2 games. Goal difference is massively, 20 and nearly 30 out for Sheffield United. It could be all over by round 44. Let me know your thoughts on an incredible swing this week. Let me say it again because it's quite staggering. 3-game week, Leeds 7, Burnley 7, Sheffield United 0. Have you ever seen anything like it in a title race? Get in the comments. Let's talk about the playoffs where West Brom finally get a win and Millwall are actually in the conversation. But look there, we could get a little bit of a gap. It is Hull versus Coventry tomorrow night. We could have a 4-point gap between 6th and 7th, which is a game's buffer, obviously. Let's go through this in the correct order. So Sunderland, I'm sorry, Sunderland fans, we're not even bringing them up on the graphic anymore. We're going to talk about Sunderland when we get to the playoffs, where they will inevitably finish 4th and play against whoever is in 5th spot. Okay, Sunderland fans. And we've got to talk about their game in relation to Swansea probably being safe now. 5th place, Bristol City. They went to QPR and drew 1-1. It's okay. It's a 7-point week. I know any draw at the moment feels like some kind of disaster. They have 2 home games to play, Bristol City. They have Sunderland, who are a little bit beachy. Preston on the last day. That will probably all be done for Preston, won't it? Can they win the remaining 2 home games? That would take them to 70, which should be enough when you look that then the likes of West Brom, Middlesbrough and Millwall would then need 3 wins and a draw to even tie them at that point. The away games are tricky, aren't they, for Bristol City? They go away to Leeds, but then again, Leeds might be up by round 45. They go to Luton as well, who are going to be scrapping for everything. We think there'll still be something on it for Luton at that particular juncture. So Bristol City, they've got themselves a buffer and it's a tight race. I think they can be pretty happy with their work this week and the 7 points, particularly given the nature of the late winner against West Brom, which was, of course, a head-to-head. Coventry play at Hull tomorrow night. A win would be massive. They need something from the game. I always like, and I mean, if you look at the goal difference, it doesn't actually work for Coventry at the moment, but I always think 3 points is much better than 2, isn't it, in terms of, not being able to make that overtake. At least you got the goal difference side of it as well if you can swing that, although it's 5 and 7 goals in West Brom and Middlesbrough's favour. Millwall on a neutral goal difference. So we'll see what Coventry do tomorrow night. West Brom finally get themselves a victory. First win in 6 for the Baggies. There's been a bit of a sense they've been knocking at the door, making loads of chances and haplessly not winning games that they have been sort of heavily a part of. They're 2 points off it as things stand. They need a favour from Hull, potentially, because you got to love this. Good Friday, ladies and gentlemen, Coventry versus West Brom. So if we are tight on that one, that could be a massive head-to-head and a potential switcheroony opportunity there. Borough remain in 8th because they lost the head-to-head against Millwall. And I've got to keep a promise that I made to you last week. I said I'm not going to talk about Millwall unless they get 6, 7, or by God, 9 points this 3-game week. And it is, by God, 9 points for Millwall this week. Absolutely outstanding from the Lions. That is also 5 wins in 7. And look at the diversity of teams they've beaten. They've beaten Portsmouth, who are down the bottom in a relegation fight. They've gone away, excuse me, Right, bless you in the comments for that one. Sheffield United have gone away to Sheffield United and got the win, and they've won a head-to-head. They've done all of it. They won a head-to-head, beating a team at the top and a team towards the bottom. Look, they are now in the conversation. I still maintain that even with 5 wins in 7 and 3 wins in a row, I think they're probably going to have to go 7 for 7, or at least 6 wins out of the last 7. If they were to win 3 of the last 4, they go to 69. And we've already said Bristol City hit 70 with a couple of home wins. And Coventry up there do have a game in hand. It does feel like they're probably going to need another 10 points or 9. 7 will take them to 67. And that doesn't look like it's going to be enough. That's only one more win for Bristol City. And again, Coventry do have an extra game. So what I will say about Millwall, very beachy looking season over opponents, guys. Blackburn in the middle, been losing, just got themselves a win. Norwich, going to finish in the middle. My Norwich mates tell me their star players are maybe looking towards their next clubs, if you believe that. Swansea, safe now, in the middle. Burnley last day will pretty much probably be up, won't they? So could Millwall do 7 for 7 and get into the playoffs? And the ironic thing about all of this is, I've got to say, and I've loved Millwall in the Championship, of all the teams that have come close to the playoffs, I love the Neil Harris one, a couple of the Gary Rowett ones with sort of Jed Wallace and then Ian Fleming when he'd in his first season as well. You wouldn't have had this team as the one getting in the playoffs, but you've got to get in there when the door opens, and potentially the door could be opening for Millwall. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about relegation. And let's try and be positive. Brilliant day for Oxford and Stoke. Horrible day for Cardiff and Luton. Let's get into it. First of all, we are going to say, take a bow, Alan Sheehan and Swansea, who have also done a 9-point week. It's only Millwall and Swansea managed it. Who would have had those two? I think we'd have had some people in the top 3 doing it, but it's hard to win games up the top. It's hard to win games at the end of the season in the Championship. Swansea have won 3 for 3. They've also not conceded a goal in any of those games. So really impressive by Swansea. They're at 54 points. They are safe. Well done. That wasn't the easiest gig going in for Sheehan. He's done really well because as well, since he's been in, there's been loads of points and the rising tide at the bottom of the table. And they've needed it. Look, give them 1 point instead of 9 for the week. And they would have been on 46, up to their necks in trouble, in the words of the great AC/DC. So Swansea's safe. Well done. We'll bypass Norwich. We've already talked about them. Sheffield Wednesday, we'll talk about Oxford in that respect. QPR we've already mentioned. QPR have got 5 points this week. I think the win against Oxford was massive, wasn't it? They're at 50. I think they're safe, aren't they? But I'm sure the Rangers fans will be saying, one more draw, Ben. One more win. We'll take it. And then we'll breathe a little bit easier. They're not going to get overtaken by, famous last words here, 7 teams, are they? QPR, they're not even in McGoldrick up there, are they? Right, let's say congratulations to Oxford. Outstanding. Brilliant stuff. And the thing you've really got to take your hat off to for Oxford is their ability to win games 1-0. They're like a bloke who's got a type, haven't they? Last 6 wins for Oxford, 5 of them, and these are all under Gary Rowett, have been 1-0. Can you keep a clean sheet? Can you win a tight game? Most teams that get relegated cannot do that. So generally, that's the sign of a team that is going to stay up. They go away to Sheffield Wednesday. Maybe it's soft with Danny Roll, maybe heading off to Southampton and Mr. Chansiri causing trouble there again, and Wednesday kind of, fizzling out to end the season. But well played Oxford. They went there. They did the job. They have won 3 out of the last 5 as well. And they go to 48 points. You tell me in the chat, 1 more draw. If they draw 1 more game, that means Plymouth and Luton would have to win 3 and draw 1, looking at goal difference of their last 4. Bit different for Cardiff. Remember though, Cardiff go to Sheffield United on Good Friday. So 1 more draw. Oxford, fair play. I've backed Oxford to go down many times this season. And they're doing a great job to close in on 50 points. And we love the League One teams to make it competitive and stay in there. Make sure it's not boring like the Premier League and we get the same 17 teams 4 years running. That's my soapbox at the moment. Stoke as well. And I am going to engage smug mode here and break my arm, slapping myself on the back. I called this. Go back and check my 8 games to go, 1 to 24 predictions. I looked at Stoke's fixtures and I said, I think with their last 8, they're going to get the job done in the first 4. Because if they don't, they're going to get relegated. And they have done exactly that. They've got 8 points in 4, Stoke. They're unbeaten, obviously. 2 wins, 2 draws in that. A late winner in a head-to-head against Cardiff. And do you know what? It could have been even better because they had another head-to-head, didn't they, against Luton in midweek. It's a late Luton equaliser in that. And they would truly, truly be safe because they would be on 49. And obviously Luton would be on 39 if that was the case. But as things stand, I do still think they've got to hit that kind of 49 tariff, haven't they? Tariff? It's a very popular word in politics at the moment. We don't talk about politics on this channel, do we? So I think they need one more win, don't they? But as we always say with relegation battles, they don't need to do anything because teams in the bottom 3 do tend to not win games. That's why they're in the bottom 3. But you know what football fans are like. They're going to want to see a 5-0 up there or at least a 48 and then a 49 with a couple of draws. And of course, the reason I said Stoke need to front load it in the first 4 games is the last 4 games aren't a lot of fun. They do play Leeds and Sheffield United. Remember, Leeds on Easter Monday, I think Leeds could be looking at that as they win that game and then Sheffield United lose at Burnley and they're up. So that's going to be massively hard. They do play Sheffield Wednesday at home, which is soft on Good Friday. And then you've got Sheffield United. That could be a dead rubber. Sheffield United could be preparing for playoffs then if it goes the worst way. And then I've said for the longest time, I think Derby beats Stoke on the last day of the season because Stoke will already be safe by then. Hey, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I'll be wrong 5 times in this video. You know how difficult it is to call the Championship. Quickly on Pompey versus Derby. And I mean, this was a big goal to equalise at the end of this one. It was 2-2, wasn't it? Atkinson, 91. Derby had led. I suppose you can caveat and say Pompey missed a penalty early in this one. So maybe a draw ends up being fair. I don't know. You tell me if you were at the game. But it was a big swing, wasn't it? Because if you take 2 off Pompey, they go to 44. Add 2 onto Derby, they're going 45. Switch a Rooney there. So unhelpful draw, it feels a little bit in terms of Derby. But given the context there, big late goal there for Pompey. And you would think they definitely need to win another game. But I don't think we can be sat here and saying, like we've been saying for sort of Oxford or Stoke, that, can you just draw one of the last 4 and get one more point? Pompey need to get a win in there. And they go to Norwich, then Watford, Sheffield Wednesday, Hull. It's not terrible. They've been really brilliant at home. So you would fancy last 2 home games, Watford and Hull, they could get that win to get to 49 and potential safety. Right, we've spoken about Derby. I don't think if you're a Derby fan, you can complain given what Eustace has done and the points that Derby County have put on the board. They've just been excellent. They've collected points in so many games, haven't they? I know this past week they've only scored 2 points, but to be fair, one of those was against Burnley, wasn't it? And they've gone pretty close here. And it was 4 wins before that. So 12 points in those 4 games, obviously. 14 points then in 7. It's outstanding. It's 2 points per game. So, and then all the Derby fans know what's happening. Good Friday. So good. So good. Derby versus Luton. That's the one for Derby, isn't it? Just gargantuan. There are no words, even with my YouTube hat on, for me to need to hype that game up. If Derby win that game, that is a 6-point gap between them and Luton with 3 to play. Oh, it's mouth-watering. It's going to be horrible if you're a Derby or a Luton fan, but if you're neutral like me, brilliant. Cardiff, oh dear. We said we were concerned looking at the run-in, and they've gone forward without a win, and they've drawn a lot of games, and it feels like a couple of those at the start of the run they could have won, and they've lost a head-to-head at home to Stoke today. Could have been worse if Derby had held on to win, but of course they do play Sheffield United next. Cardiff, they've got to get out of there, haven't they? What do you reckon? 4 games to play. Oh, can they do it with a win and 2 draws to take them to, what would that be? 47 possibly? They need a favour. They need a losing run from Derby, Hull, Pompey in there, don't they? Cardiff, it is not looking great for the Bluebirds. Final 4 games. They go away to Sheffield United. Look at that one, Oxford. Are Oxford going to have got anything against... Could be one where they could potentially suck Oxford in again, couldn't they, if Oxford have lost to Leeds and there's been a bit of a push elsewhere and someone's overtaken them. West Brom and then Norwich. Could West Brom and Norwich be dead rubbers? Could that help Cardiff? I don't know. Doesn't look great. And Luton Town, what have you done? Look, I think the thing with Luton that we need to say is there was no margin for error whatsoever. And they have been good recently, Luton. And this is the first defeat in, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 games if I run back the fixtures. But there was no margin for error, especially being they'd drawn 2 games in a row. Yeah, look, going into this, they'd beaten Pompey. Okay, they lost to Burnley. Then they beat Cardiff, drew to Borough. They beat Hull. And then if you draw it against Leeds, that's fine. Took a point then against Stoke late in the day. You can probably tick that off. But then you have to go and beat Blackburn. And you absolutely cannot lose to them. Ohashi with the goal. And Luton, I mean, you tell me, what do you think they need? Well, I think they need to beat Derby, don't they? And just pull Derby in ahead of those last couple of games. They then play Bristol City, Coventry and West Brom. They're going to hope the playoffs are done and West Brom have nothing to play for on that final day. But Luton did not need that. And Plymouth, I'll say the same thing I said about Millwall. I said, look, we think Plymouth are down. We'll discuss them if they have a good week. And well done to the Argyle. They did have a good week. They scored 6 points and they beat Sheffield United and Norwich. And I've got to say, really, fair play Plymouth. I looked at their last fixtures and I said, well, if Plymouth are going to stay up, they'll do it at home. But even their home games are horrible because they've got Norwich, Sheffield United, Coventry and Leeds. They've already won 2 out of 2 of those. So it would be the greatest escape. They go to Middlesbrough next. We are really going to get interested. If they can pick up a point against Middlesbrough, then they have to win the last 2 home games. And they could beat Leeds if Leeds have drunk, if they've been promoted 2 games ago, haven't they? I think the only thing Leeds might need to do then is to go for the 100 points potentially if it all goes well for Leeds. I don't know. Plymouth would be sensational if they can do it. Still against the odds. But, I mean, all we can say in terms of the relegation fight is it's been a big move, as the caption says there, for Oxford and Stoke today. Difficult to call anything else. Wow. What a day. I'm exhausted. If you were watching, thank you. I did the Plymouth Sheffield United game earlier. It was just bonkers. It was fantastic. And I've got to say, my team Ipswich is in the Premier League at the moment. And it is absolutely not a patch on the Championship in terms of excitement. We all know who's going down. We all know who's going to win the title as well, don't we? And just complete drama with those late goals at Cardiff. The one for Stoke, the turnaround in the title race, things picking up in the playoff with the free game, the 9-point week for Millwall, late goal for Pompey as well. Just complete drama right the way down the card. Absolutely brilliant. That is why we love it. Get involved down there in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on the promotion race. Is it done? Have Sheffield United thrown it all away? Can West Brom, Middlesbrough or Millwall find their way past Bristol City and Coventry to take a playoff spot? And what the hell is going to happen in the relegation zone, especially with that Derby versus Luton head-to-head coming up on Good Friday? I have loved this round. I've loved this 3-game week. I hope you have too. So let me know how much you did in the comments and hit that thumbs up button. And let's prepare for one of our favourite weekends of the season. It's Easter coming up. We'll get a big preview up for this at some point in the middle of next week. Thank you all for watching. God bless the Championship. What a round 42.